You're listening to the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. 31 minutes past 7 a.m. It is a hump of the week Wednesday morning. We're smack dab in the middle of the week already, and I really hope it's been a productive and a positive one for you up until this point. Ayokunmi right here on the Smooth Breakfast, taking you into the world of. If you don't know how it works, you're just tuning in for the first time, you are most welcome. So it's going to be the stories. We'll take a look at the stories in the papers, analysis will follow, and then your contributions, your thoughts will be taken because we love to hear from you and get your perspective as well. So all you need to do is to send those messages in to us on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981 0809 444 981. That is the WhatsApp number. Also join us on Zoom. We're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Those are the ways you can join in on the conversation this morning. All right, joining me to analyze the stories and break it down, make sense of it all for us. Devoe and Lakunle are in for Wednesday morning. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Devoe. Good morning, everyone listening to us this Wednesday morning. Fastest January in history.
As far as I remember, fastest January. Devoe, good morning.
Morning world, morning Lagos, AY Lakunle. Every year gets faster. Cool Valentine, Toshiwa.
Valentine is still at least 2 weeks away. But I see people already getting ready. Clearly are
Yes,
getting
so
yourself in the mood. Anyways,
don't
you
have
know
the
what they
money
say.
now, forget it.
Proper preparation prevents poor performance. I've heard that so many times. But anyways, thanks for joining me. We're going to begin during this morning before we're looking at a couple of numbers, and we're starting in the Guardian newspaper. Now, the Debt Management Office, that's the DMO, on Monday dismissed reports claiming that Nigeria's public debt rose from 21 trillion naira to 142 trillion naira under President Bola Tinubu, calling it inaccurate. Now, the DMO's latest figures published on its website last Tuesday show that Nigeria's public debt reached 142.3 trillion naira by September 30th, 2024. Now, this marks a 5.97 increase, an additional 8.02 trillion naira from the 134.3 trillion naira recorded in June of 2024. So, Devoe, I mean, what side of the fence do we actually sit on this one? DM was refuting the claim. Who do we believe at this point in time?
Believe the DMO. The DMO is the Debt Management Office, and for the longest time, they've always come out with, I have to say, the truth. Okay, good morning. And the problem here is that let's not get confused with the numbers. What are they
Okay.
saying and what is to be understood? Basically, when I looked at this article that was in the Guardian, I was wondering what is someone dragging figures between now and September last year? That's just a 6 month difference. Okay. You don't study debt figures within 6 months. So the article goes down to actually reveal where we should actually have our eyes on. If the debt, Nigeria's debt position, that's the public debt position, which includes both external debt and internal debt, okay, that's domestic combined, is at 142 trillion, which is roughly um, uh, what do you call it? $100 billion, right? Now, um, what they said was at the time that Tinubu came on board, the debt situation, that was when Buhari handed over, was at approximately 90 trillion. Okay? So if it was about 90 trillion when this administration took over, it means almost 2 years in, it has risen to 140. So that's roughly 50% increase within 2 years. All right? Now, that's the accurate fact of the figures. Now, the point is, it's not so much about what the debt situation is or what the figure is. After all, we could have spent 300 billion for all I care. What is important for people to note is what was this? How did we amass this debt? How did we accrue this debt? And that is when you begin to understand why Nigerians need to hold government accountable. Okay?
Hmm.
Because this debt impacts on all of us. It's part of the reason, and this is the big hole that usually causes our currency not to have any value in the markets. Because you have a lot of money that most times when we talk about paying, like in the budget, when they talk about paying the debt back, they're not paying back the principal amount. So we're just even paying back the interest. We've not even started paying the principal amount. Now, and until you begin to address the principal amount, you will not get that substantial lift in value in your currency, which was what Obasanjo achieved back in the day when he sought that agreement with the Paris Club lenders. Okay, now, now to pay back debt means that you have to make money. Okay, that's why we always speak about Nigeria becoming a productive economy, meaning as a diversified nation, we're exporting services and goods that earn revenue to the country to shore up this position so that the country is enabled to offset some of these debts. Don't always believe that countries will forgive you your debt. It's like going to the bank to collect money. How can people be going to the bank believing that once they loan money from the bank, they will never pay back? And at some point, the bank will wake up and say, okay, as our good customer, we forgive you. That's not how it works, which is why the longer you take to pay back, the more pressure that exists on your currency. Now, to the
Okay.
point I want Nigerians to note is that this 140 trillion, Ayo, can you explain how we got there? Many of the federal government and the states, they will tell you that, oh, they put money in this project, they put money in that project. But most of the projects we can't see. The 40 trillion, or let's say 30 trillion that was taken for ways and means, where was it spent? The ones that most state governments, about 3/4 of our state governments are moribund, meaning they are unprofitable.
Mm.
All about 30 of our state governments are borrowing money just even to operate, to stay alive. Okay? Where did all the money that they earn go to? This creates the crime scene that I expect the EFCC to be working. And this is how you know that the government has failed. Because on top of the fact that the EFCC has given us maybe one or two or three cases that have become headline matters, like the Yaya Bello allegation, okay? We haven't seen a substantial prosecution of some state government or state actors who have been party to the defrauding of this country, be it at the state level, be it at the federal level. It's
In a
always
nutshell,
political.
Devoe.
In a nutshell, Nigerians, whenever they discuss that situation, just be aware that that is your money that was spent without you knowing. And that at the end of the day, until we get to a level where we can begin to hold these people accountable, prosecute them, we may not and never offset our debt situation.
And that in itself is a very, very scary thought. Looking at how the numbers keep moving and the thought of not being able to offset that. Shivers a sense down my spine. Anyways, let's keep our journey moving on this morning. Lakunle. Let's head into the vanguard. And the US government has halted the support for HIV treatments in Nigeria and other developing countries following an order by President Donald Trump. Now, the US State Department stopped the disbursement of funds from the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, that's PEPFAR, a program for HIV treatment in Africa and developing countries for at least 90 days. This originates from President Trump's executive order on foreign aid, which he signed on his first day in office. Now, as a result, nearly all US global health funding has been halted immediately. Nigeria is one of those countries affected. And it's key to note that about 2 million Nigerians currently living with HIV, many of them benefiting from PEPFAR as it will. Now, like I said, it's been halted for a minimum of 90 days, could be more. Where does this leave Nigerians? And in terms of the bigger picture, what does this then tell us, looking at how we need to be, should I say, more independent in quotes and not depend on programs like this? Yes, these programs are very, very useful, but when someone can come and say, we are halting it, what then do we do moving forward?
Okay, so let's look at it from the historical perspective. So we understand where we really are on this matter. So the first case of HIV AIDS infection was reported, I think, in the Congo as far back as 1959. I'm sorry about it, if I remember my history of the scourge very, very well. The first case in Nigeria was in 1985 or 86, thereabouts in Lagos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we look at it, 1959 to date is about 60, how many years? 63, 60, 66 years, I think. That should be, if I'm really worried about it.
Yes.
So that's one. 1986 to date is how many years? That's 40 years. Okay, so in those 40 years, in those 60 years, what have we as Africans done? Let's, for a moment, assume that it's an African, was discovered in Africa for the first time. Let's leave all the politics and the conspiracy theories of it out of it.
Yeah.
Now, what have we done as a continent, as respective 58 sovereign countries in Africa to solve this problem? I was looking at the list of the countries with the highest prevalence. 35 of the top 50 are in Africa. 19 or 18 of the top 20 are in Africa. 9 of the top 10 are in Africa.
No surprise there.
So when you look at those, when you look at that way, now this money that we're talking about has been suspended, right? Has come into Africa, into Nigeria, into Ethiopia, into Kenya, in various tranches. We have done a lot of work about sensitization, about awareness, about providing support, and all that and all that. But the most important part of it that we have not touched is the research into how can we kill this virus? How can we stop it? We have treated, like the Yoruba people say, we have treated the guinea worm infection and we have left the leprosy. It's only sweet if I can say it in Yoruba, you know. That's what we have done with this ailment. Now this money is stopping. It takes us back to the very beginning all over again. I am not aware that any state government or the federal government of Nigeria in their budgets specifically say that this money in our Ministry of Health is meant for research into HIV or tuberculosis or to all those ailments that we depend solely on foreign intervention. A case in point is the case of the what vaccine was given in Kano in some years ago that resulted in some malformation in pregnant women, some children being born deformed. What I can't remember the whole story. Yeah, polio. And the Kano State government went to courts and they won the case that was it Evans, I think, that made the vaccine.
Pharmaceutical.
Yeah. I can't remember this, but I remember Kano went to court about something like that. They won the case.
Pfizer.
It's Pfizer. Thank you. So so if a foreign pharmaceutical company comes to do that to us, why isn't that and the push for us to locally try to research and find these cures ourselves? Now that's the end of all. That's a question on that bit. Now the third part is that so these 2 million people between now and those 90 days, I think that they're supposed to take that ARDs on a very regular basis. I think daily or every hour or something, some regimented kind of administration of that thing. So in those 90 days, except the ones they have at hand, right? After that expires, if it finishes before the 90 days, what happens to them? It creates another level of corruption somewhere, Nigerians being who we are. Some people start to urge the one they have in store and exchanging it for money. It's supposed to be for free. Don't forget. Now they start exchanging it for money. They start exchanging it for familiarity, for favors and all that. Then people stop to go. Those who can afford it will probably go to find where to buy, and then the price skyrockets. and then people start to withdraw and not take these drugs again. And therefore, those people who says that I am not wired to be faithful to one partner, and then the risk starts to spread.
And then we have another round
exactly. That's why I said
epidemic.
it's going to take us back to the very beginning. After all the work that has been done in those 40 years, the awareness, the care, and all that has been taken care of up to this point. Unfortunately, in those 40 years, the thing that would have made us not to worry is not what we worry about. I hope that in the interest of even America itself, that it does not carry a rebound or an effect of this ban, because America itself has a prevalence of I think, is it 13 in every 1,000 citizen or so. I I think that's about the number. If that's the number, they themselves will probably say then that people would come into their country. And guess what? A lot of those tiny island countries around America have a high prevalence of this thing. And some of them, they can go to mainland America without visa.
Right.
So if they can't get it in their home country, they go there. So it's not end of the road for them to say they're just canceling this thing. I hope in those 90 days, when President Trump sees the effect of what he's done, he will be gracious, or will be man enough to say, hey, I don't have to do this way. There might be a different way to do it. It's a wake-up call for us. It's never too late to start our own research into how to find local solution to this problem.
Thank you for sharing this.
Anyway,
Yes, sir.
just let me put a final touch to this. If America does not support Nigeria or any other country with HIV drugs, it just simply means that Nigerians, you don't want to die of AIDS. You need to be sexually responsible. You need to be careful where you play in the other room. You need to take note of what they call what do they call those things that starts with a C? Those things that you use to ensure that you do not pass across STIs to your partners, either male or female. That is because I don't see Nigeria waking up to address the matter. It's even known in the history of this HIV issue that there were some people who actually came up with solutions or remedies to address it, but it was suppressed because the government wanted to keep collecting the money that was being used for the HIV drugs. There's a lot of issues here, but like I said, if Nigeria is not going to be serious about addressing it, then many people need to become serious and responsible about their sexual lives.
Indeed. And you know what, on that note, since we're talking about the US and Donald Trump, we're going to jump into another story here. Oh, sorry. We're going to talk about the Dangote refinery, actually. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Sorry, Devoe, Donald Trump. So what we're talking about, I kind of got the numbers mixed up. This is a story coming out of the Vanguard. Now, no fewer than 5,144 Nigerians may be affected in the initial stage of the ongoing deportation exercises from the US as Donald Trump's crackdown on undocumented immigrants continues. Now, the figure includes non-US citizens of Nigerian origin in the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's ICE, and removal operations, non-detained dockets with final orders of removal from the US and those already in ICE detention. Now, efforts to reach the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the matter at press time last night proved abortive. But the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, as NIDCOM, told Vanguard that the federal government had already put in place an interagency committee to tackle the matter should there be mass deportation of Nigerians by the Donald Trump government.
Okay, I guess this is something that takes place in history at different times with different countries. Let's not make it look like it's something special. Different countries, the UK at some point said, we don't want people who are no longer our own. Even they were talking to other British people. That's when Brexit was formed. In India, till date, the country is divided because they have some form of caste system between those who they believe are the upper class Indians and the lower class Indians. China and Japan have never mixed properly because one side felt that they were superior to the other. So now America, with its new administration, is saying, if you don't have your papers, we want you out. So this figure that they've given, that out of the 11 million people to be deported that they believe are undocumented, about 5,000-ish Nigerians. It's a small number. That's like a drop inside an ocean. I think there are actually more, if I know my brothers and sisters as well. But what it just simply means is that, as Nidcom has mentioned, that they will receive them once they come back here. It's not today. Remember, sometimes Libya has deported our people. Belgium has deported our people. It's not today. Even the UK, who was planning on pushing people to Rwanda, has always been deporting people. What is important here, okay? Even on the Nigerian side, I hope you know that Nigeria too, as many people do not have forgotten, that the Ghana must go back was a poster child of the time that Nigeria deported Ghanaians, okay, during I think after the Second Republic, when they felt
1983,
that
82.
Yes, the Ghanaians were associated with criminal activities and armed robbery. Okay, so because they pushed them out with military might, many of them sold those bags just to get out of Nigeria, which is now what we use as a fashionable cultural item called the Ghana must go bag. Very strong, actually. But the truth is, and if for those who don't understand the history also, even before the Ghana must go, Ghana at some point in the 1960s, 1950s, 60s, had a better economy than Nigeria. Therefore, in that season, many Nigerians were migrating to Ghana. And when we became too much, Ghana was actually the first country to deport Nigerians, which we then retaliated during the Shagari times. So we will await our brothers and sisters that will be brought back. Hopefully they can find something to do in the country. And as always, it takes this administration to turn, and all of us to turn Nigeria around so that we don't have to be a nation that people are always waking up, sleeping and dreaming that the Lord will help them japa one day. Lakunle, are you going to japa too? At least if you have your papers, nobody will deport you.
I think the fifth.
Okay. Enough said. Enough said. All right. Let me stick a message or two in before we go on to our next story here.
Nathan Njoku from Kirikiri Town says, Abiwan minister and government rep says they are looking at the body language of the US. Has he seen it? Okay, Nathan, I see what you did there. Tongue in cheek. Ajayi Oluniluwa says, President Donald Trump has challenged Nigerian pharmacists to produce medicines to cure our various ailments instead of rushing to the US for medical care. As he continues his war on illegal immigrants, he should also ban our leaders from seeking medical treatment in his country. I don't think he can do that, but I mean, looking at what has been going on at this point, anything is possible. All right, okay, let's get back into the group, and we're going to head into the conversations. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery is awaiting up to 12 million barrels of crude oil from the United States. That's according to Africa Report on Monday. That the refinery resources of crude importation as local supply challenges hinder the new $20 billion refinery's push to reach full potential. Now, if you recall, the refinery plans to reach its 650,000 barrels per day capacity June of this year. However, low local crude supply from the NNPCL is currently a challenge to this plan to ramp up daily production. Okay, so I'll first start from the politics of this. Recall from inception, the day Alhaji Dangote announced that he was going to build this refinery, every supporter of every government in Nigeria since that day had always projected that this, when completed, is a solution to the perennial problem of petroleum product supply for consumption in Nigeria. Now it's been completed. It has reached full capacity. Has that happened? That question I would want our listeners to just, from the bottom of their hearts, everybody who's listening to answer that question individually. Now to the real issues. When this went live sometime last year, NNPC and Dangote and everybody else, Moman, Piman, whatever, every man that was in the industry, Pengasan, all of them went into several battles of Nami Sabi pass. You know, Sabi reach me. I got here before you. I know how much it is. You don't know how much it is, and all that stuff. And we could see that personal interests what is in it for me was playing out. Now, for the life of me, maybe because I'm not in government, maybe because I'm not a player in that industry, maybe because my education is limited. At least I went to secondary school. Yeah. So maybe because of those things, I still cannot understand why it is difficult for NNPC to supply crude directly to Dangote. NNPC in itself has 4 refineries. Yeah. 2 in Port Harcourt, 1 in Warri, 1 in Kaduna. As at sometime last year, I think December last year, we were told that the Port Harcourt refinery was back on stream.
Yes.
And it is refining crude. Where is the crude that is refining that place coming from? We are told that we're now doing 2 million barrels per day. Also, don't forget there was this statutory 400,000 barrels per day reserved for local consumption. Nobody is talking to that 400,000 barrels anymore in Nigeria today. We're talking like as if it is from the number that is done that we're now saying how much we want to give at home, how much we want to say. It is not part of the the OPEC quota of 1.6, is it 2.1 million barrels per day that Nigeria is supposed to send to the international markets. That 400 is your own, you use at home. You are not selling it outside. Nobody is speaking to that number anymore. All of these things we are hearing. So Dangote now goes to America to buy crude or whatever it's going to buy. It's going to buy in dollars. And it's the government that is saying that they want to reduce the pressure on our demand for dollars. So let's assume it does these 12 million barrels every month, or let's say every 3 months, times 1,600. I think that's about the average on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis or whatever the frequency that is. So there's going to be some squeeze on the access to foreign exchange in Nigeria because petroleum products is something we can't do without. So whatever it is that is the politics, whatever it is that is with the economics, whatever it is that is with the what do they call that thing? The I know you, you know me thing that goes on with the way we run business and governance in Nigeria. I think these people should be matured enough to enter the same room and agree on how this is going to happen so that this gentleman doesn't have to spend the foreign exchange the government says it wants to save to buy crude from outside when we can give him from the one. There's also a presidential directive that they should give him crude in naira. Whatever. Was it ever done? So these are the basic things that we need to just worry about for me.
Do you want to share a thought or two before we take messages around up this morning?
Well, I mean, like I said, it is rather, really. There's a lot of gymnastics taking place in the oil and gas sector. Clearly, the government does not want to support the Dangote refinery, and they will do everything within their power to frustrate it. But it's a free market, so my point is this. I knew by 2025, Dangote would not be fighting the government anymore. He would bring in his own crude. If you can afford the rates, fine. If you can't, remember, Dangote is producing the best PMS quality in the world. So it's either you buy from him or you buy the local dirty one that's being distributed. That's how this economy works. At least we have an option, right? We have an option. Check your generators, your cars. You make the choice as to what you believe works best for you. End of story.
All right. Let me take the messages this morning as we begin to round up. Adigboyega Adedeji says, you don't need a soothsayer to tell you that the nation's debt under this palliative government under this palliative government's leadership will be on the high side. A government that is not responsible to the citizens but quick to spend above the budget to fund their luxurious lifestyle will surely incur unimaginable debt. Honestly, we are trapped. Okay. Someone said, name attached. Can we just reset this country? Okay, another message here. There's no name attached. Could you please attach your names to the message so I know who's talking to us? Thank you very much. About the HIV, please don't make it all about sex only. There are several other ways people contact the disease, mothers, children.
salons, even public transportation. How in public transportation, all you need is a small cut. Okay, that explains that. I understand what you mean. Thank you for bringing that up as well.
But we know that the most prevalent way of contact is that.
Yeah, I get what
understood. Yeah,
understood.
so of course there are so many ways. Barbers, Bud Hudson, Rob Hudson got it from his Easy E got it from his dentist.
Yep, just imagine. Ernest says, why isn't Dangote using the oil wells allocated to him to supply at least part of the crude oil needed for his refinery? Why didn't Dangote secure a guaranteed crude oil supply before commissioning his refinery? Okay. Now that is a question that I can't answer. Babatunde Lau says, lies, over experience in this government. As for the NNPC, let them continue with their embargo gun.
Yeah, just a quick one on that. Dangote is producing about 10,000 barrels per day now. That's small compared to what he needs. He needs about 650,000 barrels per day. So he can't get much from Nigeria. He'll have to import.
Sad. Oluwaseyi says, how Nigeria spend borrowed money is hard. It's not hard to find examples. Remember the presidential yacht, the new presidential jets, the new vice presidential residence, SUVs for National Assembly members, and so on and so forth. Most of these monies are borrowed. They were not earned. As for the US seizing HIV funding, Nigeria has gotten used to free aid from developed nations. The US was doing it all this while, not because they really cared. It's foreign diplomacy 101. They need to carry favors from nations they actually donate to. Well, I mean, usually when a country decides it wants to be nice to another one, there's something they need or something they stand to gain. It's just the way the world works. Anyways, we need to call it a morning. Thank you all for the messages. Thank you so much, Devoe and Lakunle, for making
sorry, before we go, okay, so viral infections to date, yes, there's this argument that it can be cured. Yes, but it can be prevented. That's what the job of vaccines are supposed to be, to prevent the infection in the first place. Like they say, prevention is better than cure.
True story. All right, Lakunle, final words. Sorry, Devoe, final words as we wrap it up.
Yeah, for those who don't remember, Awoof they run belle, so no more free HIV drugs.
People stay safe.
All right, stay safe, and of course, have a great Wednesday. Keep it tuned to Smooth 98.1 at 8:15. It will be time to talk about sports. We'll take a walk into the locker room. Tega is in the building for that one. It's going to be a great time, as always.
Devoe.
Okay. All right, so Mona, enjoy.
Oh, Devoe, I'm sending my